Not one, not two, not three, 4, 5 for Jamal Murray. This is Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for tuning into the show here on this Tuesday night as the Denver Nuggets, they dominate. And one player in particular dominated and quieted some of the talk around him in this particular night. Jamal Murray goes off for 45 points in Denver's 118-99 victory over the Dallas Mavericks. This was such a big game. This was such a big game for a lot of reasons. We'll get into it all here on Locked On Nuggets. Third segment, I'm going to talk about why this game was so big. We'll also preview Houston, Denver tomorrow, second night of a back-to-back. Second segment, we'll talk about Jokic's night. We'll talk about the defense, kind of everybody else in the rotation. But we obviously got to start with Jamal. Got to start with the man of the hour. 45 points is insane for a number of reasons. This was such a big game for him. By the way, for those that are confused here, Matt was fried from doing several podcasts over the course of today. So he's taking tonight off. He will be back tomorrow, I got to imagine. So gonna be just me, Ryan Blackburn, on this particular episode, but hopefully you guys will still enjoy. I get to bask in the glory of this particular game. Jamal Murray goes for 45, shoots 18 of 26. Good gosh, from the field, goes 5 of 9 from 3, 45 points, 6 assists, 2 steals, had 5 turnovers. Who cares? He was getting like double and triple teamed by the end of this thing. This was an unbelievable game. And it's so funny how these things come around, because I was just talking about how the Mavericks are a tough matchup for him. The Mavericks are a pretty difficult team for him to match up with because of their perimeter defense, because of the wing defenders that they have. Najee Marshall's very good, very physical. Quentin Grimes gave Murray some trouble in the last 3 matchups. Murray was 18 of 51 in the previous 3 games that he played against this Mavericks team. He was 18 of 26 tonight, and he did it in so many different ways. He was aggressive from 3. He got to his spots from 2. The fall-away jumper was crazy. He got to the rim, and he didn't overshoot, I'll say. Like, honestly, he took the shots that he was supposed to take because he generated the space that he needed to get there. And that's where you look at Jamal Murray and say, oh, yeah, he's looking good. Because so often this season, I've been thinking about his game and thinking about what he provides for this Nuggets team, thinking about what he was in years past and why he's struggling this year overall. It's the separation, it's the burst, it's the indecision, and not necessarily knowing what he wants to do. Tonight, he knew what he wanted. Tonight, he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and it was exactly what the Nuggets needed on the front end of a back-to-back. Dallas didn't know what hit them, man. 32 points for Jamal Murray in the first half alone. He could have probably gone for 50, 55, 60 if they just weren't going to double. But they decided to double, and he made the right play most of the time, and the Nuggets still stayed ahead, and they won this game by 20. And Denver just did exactly what they needed to do to get out of there with the W. But obviously it's about Jamal and just seeing him go off in this way and seeing him be aggressive and getting to his spots. I really like some of the threes that he took early in this game. He made, I think, 3 or 4 threes in the first quarter alone, had 19 points in the quarter. And there was one off of a relocation 3 where he basically pump faked off of a Jokic pass. Defender flies by, he resets, relocates, and hits a 3. But then there was one where he just caught and shot. He absolutely put it forth, where so many times in this situation he would hesitate coming off of a screen, whether he's dribbling into the pick or if he's just coming off of a screen and trying to navigate. That was not what happened here. He hit some pull-up threes in this game, no hesitation. And when he gets into that zone and is in that comfortable place, you have to love what he can do and what it looks like. He starts to look like the guy that shot 42% from three last year. I looked up the numbers now on the season. Murray's up to 38%. He's looking a lot better. He's looking a lot more consistent on the three. And as long as he can keep getting those attempts up, can keep playing consistently, this is going to be a jumping off point for him. Now, we can talk about the health, can talk about the physicality, can talk about just how he managed things. He spoke in the post-game presser or like on the court and basically said, hey, I felt better today. He had said to Bennett Durando earlier in the day, shout out to Bennett over at the Denver Post. He said, I feel better today. And he'd been dealing with some knee inflammation in the left knee where he tore his ACL. This is always just such a difficult thing for people to understand that have never torn their ACL before. I've never torn my ACL before, but I do have injuries where it's surgically repaired and sometimes it's just weaker. Sometimes you just have residual impacts of what's actually happening there. And you just don't know how to navigate it. And sometimes you're just a little slower. Sometimes you just don't necessarily feel as good. And this one, it was just so clear to me that Murray did exactly what he needed to do to get himself ready for this game. He was physical. He was flying up and down the court. He got to his spots. He made quick decisions, and he generated separation. That's going to be the key for him consistently going forward. Very happy to see it. 45 points is the most points for him since 2021, since before he tore the ACL. If you guys remember, 50 points in Cleveland, in like January or February of 2021. That was the last time he scored 45 or more. Now that was that was an unbelievable game. This game I don't think compares quite to what that game was, where he shot 21 of 25 and had 0 free throws. That is burned into my brain. But it doesn't matter because this is where Murray's at right now. He's been inconsistent, of course. This is only his second game where he's had 30-plus points. Cedric asks, is this his best game of the season, Ryan? Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that this is his best game of the season. And it was because he came out and he just said, I'm going to make an impact tonight. I'm going to be extremely aggressive. I'm going to put the team on my back a little bit. And you got to know that Jokic was extremely happy to see that. He was very happy and more than willing, everybody, honestly, more than willing to kind of give Murray the ball and get out of the way or screen for him or find him off of a screen or just to attack and transition and then find him in that way. There were so many opportunities where the team was just hunting for shots for Jamal. And I think everybody really cares about getting him going too. The team knows how important he is because when Jokic has it going, okay, that's like every Tuesday. That's like every day of the week. Jokic always has it going. When Porter has it going, and it's become very consistent, but there's a certain level that Porter can't necessarily get to because he doesn't have the ball in his hands as often. He doesn't generate his own shots as often. With Murray, it gets up here. It gets up a little bit higher. And that is not to denigrate Porter. Porter has been Denver's second most consistent player, second best player, if I'm being honest, on a consistent basis. But Murray can just get to that other level. And having a second scorer that can go for a crooked number and win you a basketball game because of how dynamic he is, that is what separates Denver from being a playoff contender and a championship contender. This is probably the most encouraging game I've seen that says Denver can win a title because of Murray. Murray's that important. He just is. Denver doesn't everybody has had a lot of pressure on Murray for that reason because everybody knows how important he is. And this was a significant leap in that direction for Denver, where you just know that everybody in that locker room feeling good, everybody in that locker room happy for Jamal. And I think everybody has a little bit more confidence in just what they need to do, what's going on for this Nuggets group. Denver's in a good spot, and a lot of it is because Murray's now. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow, and that's kind of the thing with Jamal. He's still going to be inconsistent. There's still going to be lows. Denver's still going to have to navigate that. But just seeing that this is there is so valuable. I think it gives everybody something that they can hold on to, knowing that Murray can reach this level in an important game, even when the situation is tough for him. Because Dallas has some tough defenders. They're a pretty solid defensive team when they're locked in. They know how to do it. And I'm just very impressed with how he handled it. He didn't play well against Dallas in the first 3 matchups, found a way, navigated it, and really made an impact in this one. When we come back, we're going to talk about Jokic. We're going to talk about other aspects of this game, the Munder for the Denver Nuggets and how they held Dallas under 100 points. Just the 3rd time that Denver's done that all season. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. All right. Now we get to the ad breaks. This podcast is brought to you by Hungryroot, new sponsor for us here. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have the time. You guys know me. Between work, life, I'm trying to eat as healthy as I can now. I was constantly feeling stressed out. Go to the grocery store, buy things I didn't need, and then end up with no time to actually cook. And sticking to my health goals, that was a struggle too. Everything changed when I discovered Hungryroot. Honestly, it's been a game changer, and it's the easiest way for me to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungryroot, it's like a personal shopper and a nutritionist all in one. They take good care of my grocery shopping, recommending meals and groceries based on my taste and health goals, from anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options. And the best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to my door. It's been a huge time saver and has made healthy eating so much simpler. You're going to love Hungryroot as much as I do. For a limited time, you can get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/lockedonnba and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's hungryroot.com/lockedonnba, code LOCKEDONNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/lockedonnba, code LOCKEDONNBA. Don't miss out. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. All right, we're back, Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you haven't checked it out, look in the corner down there and go to lockedondaily.com. I'm writing a newsletter tonight. It's a kind of a recap, but also some insights on Murray's night and just everything that Denver has done in this game against the Dallas Mavericks. It's called the 10-piece. Matt and I have split that for this season, and it's been great. We've had a lot of great content so far. In the article earlier today that went out, Matt gave some insight on the trade deadline. Some really valuable names that were in there and some circumstances that Denver can go through. And he didn't talk about that on the podcast. So if you're interested in finding out some additional information on Denver's trade stuff, go to lockedondaily.com and make sure to subscribe to the Nuggets feed. All right. Nikola Jokic had the easiest triple-double of his life. 10 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists. It was awesome. Great to watch. He, I'm sure, was extremely happy to only have to play 29 minutes tonight, I believe. He didn't get it in the fourth quarter. The game got back down to a 14-point margin in that fourth quarter. And I thought, you know what, they might decide to bring Jokic back in. I'm glad that Malone didn't. He stayed disciplined and kept DeAndre Jordan out there. And Denver pushed it back up to about a 20-point lead. And then it was 4 minutes left, and there was no reason for him to go back in anyway. So it was good to see. Jokic tonight became the fastest player in NBA history to 15,000 points, 7.5K rebounds, and 5K assists at just 709 career regular season games. Fastest player in NBA history, 15,000 points, 7.5 thousand rebounds, 5,000 assists. That's crazy. But it's just what he does, right? He's been racking up numbers. He has the versatile impact. Nobody has his consistent, all-encompassing impact in NBA history, frankly. Larry Bird did it in 790 games. That is an extra season. 790 games versus 709. That's wild. An extra season's worth of time. Casual triple-double for him. He did it on 7 shots. How could you not love that? And it's great for Denver because now he gets to be fresh. Mostly, he didn't really have to compete with Derek Lively. Derek Lively accidentally rolled his ankle on Jokic's foot while they were going for a rebound with only like 4 minutes into the game. Lively's really good. He's really talented. He was very good in that first 4 minutes. But Jokic didn't have to contend with him. He instead contended with Daniel Gafford. He decidedly did not chase Maxi Kleber off the three-point line for much of this game. That was pretty funny. And there just wasn't a lot of size for him to go up against. But fortunately, he didn't even have to battle in the paint that much. All he had to do was grab some defensive rebounds, and that's all he really needed to do for Denver. This was a Munder for Denver's defense. It was great to see. Mostly, they just played defense and kind of get out of Jamal's way. That was that kind of night, and that was a pretty solid way to do it. Christian Braun got the defensive player of the game chain in Denver's locker room tonight. Had 3 blocks, and I believe all 3 of them were on the first half. And one of the reasons he got the chain was Kyrie Irving. Came back from his injury probably a little bit earlier than he needed to, but Dallas knew how important this game was, and Kyrie really tried to get himself going and get himself ready for this particular matchup. And he only had 11 points on 4 of 18 from the field in 30 minutes. Basically played 30 of the first 36 minutes of the game or so, and didn't really do much. That was great effort from Christian Braun, but it wasn't just him. Peyton Watson chased him around a lot. Russell Westbrook chased him around a lot. Even Jamal switched out, and I thought Jamal played some pretty good defense tonight too. Russell Westbrook, same thing. Jokic, honestly, Jokic played some pretty good defense on Kyrie too. He just shot over him and made some tough shots. So the fact that he only scored 11 points shows that Denver played some pretty good defense against him because he took a lot of tough shots. I don't think he took many easy shots tonight. And it was just very impressive for Denver to do that, especially knowing that, like, hey, they had to really go in on him. They had to make sure that he wasn't the guy who impacted it. But honestly, I think that Spencer Dinwiddie played better in the first game for Dallas than Kyrie Irving did. So credit to Denver for really guarding against that and for really locking in on that end. Other guys that played reasonably well, Peyton Watson played reasonably well, didn't shoot well, but I thought, again, had just massive defensive impact for Denver. 5 rebounds. Still kind of like, there are still moments where he's a little bit too wild. Went at the 3, like he hit a 3 in the first quarter. I think it was the first 3 that he attempted. Played 27 minutes, and that was good. Still probably needs to be a little bit more efficient. Aaron Gordon, after going 6 of 7 from the field in the last game, goes 2 of 9 tonight. 0 of 3 from 3. I mean, look, I don't care. It wasn't a big deal. Denver should be trying to get him as often as as many shots and just getting up to speed as often as possible. And it was just nice to see him figure some things out over the course of these last 2 games. They're going to need to ramp him up. They're going to need to continuously do it. I don't know if they'll play him on the back-to-back. We'll see what happens. We'll see how he's feeling, but I'm actually kind of curious whether Jamal's going to play on the back-to-back. I could see him rubbing that knee a little bit on the bench as he came out in the fourth quarter. He had played about 37 minutes, so carried a pretty heavy burden. We'll see what happens. We'll talk about that in the next segment, though. And then Michael Porter and Russ, like not crazy nights for them, not great nights for them, I'd say. Michael Porter only took 9 shots, 5 of 9 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3, 13 points plus 20. Very casual game for him. Thought he did a reasonable job defensively as well. And Russell Westbrook, one of the cuts that he had off of split action, Like, he only shot 3 of 11 tonight, and it wasn't his best game. He's had so many good games in a row for Denver that, look, he gets a pass, obviously, while Jamal gets 45. But I thought that one of the split cuts that he had, where he and Jamal just basically were at the free throw line, it's a similar action to the way that the Golden State Warriors run, where they would have Steph and Clay run split action off of Draymond, basically facilitating at the left elbow. And this was Russ cutting backdoor, and he's just so athletic that if he gets a seam, gets a little sliver of space, then he's going to make it happen. And it was just very impressive to see him make it happen. And I'm really, really impressed with the way that he has fit into this Nuggets team. And now that Murray's kind of like, hey, he can go for 40, I think Russ is probably going to fade a little bit as a scorer and be a little bit more of a facilitator. And that is okay. That's probably the right balance for what the Nuggets need. But it should be seen and it should be made known that Russ stepped up in a big way as a scorer over the course of this last month and has looked tremendous doing it. So good on him, good on the Nuggets for figuring out something that really works for them. All right, let's take another break here on Locked On Nuggets. When we come back, we are going to discuss the game tomorrow, but also why this particular game against the Dallas Mavericks mattered so much. We will talk about it here on Locked On Nuggets. All right. This podcast, as you know, it's brought to you by a new sponsor, WayFair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering refreshing, especially in the new year. It makes my space, it helps me get back into a new routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give yourself a space and in your space a new look to start this year, WayFair has everything you need, all within your budget. Personally, I was just looking for a dresser and I needed something new, had disposed of a previous one. WayFair actually helped me pretty well. They fit my style, they fit my budget, and the best part, it was the free and hassle-free delivery. Even for larger items like this heavy, heavy dresser that I got. WayFair's site, so easy to navigate, and I found everything I needed in no time. Give your home the refresh it needs with WayFair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WayFair.com. WayFair, every style, every home. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. I did pretty well in those ad reads today, guys. Back at it, pickaxe and oh god, it's just I'll say that tomorrow. Back at it, Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Everybody would really, really appreciate it. We are on our way to 10,000 subscribers. Make sure that if you're watching this now and you haven't subscribed by now, I want you to subscribe to this one in particular because it's the solo show and we get to see the background analytics on each of these shows. I want to see like 40 new subs from this one. And I get to tell Matt and Swipa, see, they just want to see more solo Ryan. That's what they want. Definitely do that. That'll be very funny. All right, let's get into it. Why did this game matter so much? Well, obviously Denver played Dallas twice in a row. They lucked out in the first matchup and did not have to face Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving. Denver didn't play their best game on Sunday, but they made it happen. And then Jamal Murray goes insane and gets 45 points in this one. And despite the fact that Kyrie Irving comes back, it didn't matter. Denver dominated. They looked really good overall. Jamal really carried in this one, and that's what he's here for. Like, every now and then he's going to have one of these games. It's awesome. I'm very curious to see what people think about this Dallas team. Denver's seen them in a variety of different configurations. Luka's only played in one game against Denver. It was the first one. Denver won it. And in that game, Kyrie Irving was going crazy. In the second game, Luka did not play. That was the in-season tournament game, the NBA Cup game. And Denver lost that one. That was a tough loss. They shouldn't have lost that game. Murray didn't play well, but Denver's defense as a whole was horrible in that one. Najee Marshall had like 26 points. And then on Sunday, they were like, Denver was good, not great. They're certainly not great. And Dallas was without Kyrie and Luka. Then they get Kyrie back, and they get a little worse. So I'm curious what people think of this Dallas team. Nonani says this Dallas team is deep as hell, dangerous team. I tend to agree, honestly. It looks a little bit different if Luka's out there, if Kyrie's out there. And I think Denver does have some good defenders that they can throw at those guys, but can they throw at both of them at the same time? That's the question. When you get Murray, Porter, Gordon, Jokic out there, let's say you throw Russell Westbrook out there, who's guarding Luka? Who's guarding Kyrie? That's a tough question. Is Aaron Gordon guarding Luka for that entire time? Is Westbrook guarding Kyrie? That's a tough matchup for Denver. So they might have to switch some things up in the playoffs. Maybe Christian Brown guards Kyrie and they bring Russ off the bench, something like that. But it'll be interesting to see if these two teams meet in the playoffs. And this is a game that matters because Denver goes 3-1 in the season series now against Dallas. They get the head-to-head tiebreaker. And if you go over to the standings page and look at where Denver's at, they're 24-15. They are a half game back, just one win back of the Memphis Grizzlies. They control their own destiny on that front because I think they have a tiebreaker over Memphis. Or like that one is still up in the air because they split with Memphis. But they're effectively tied for the 3rd seed right now. And they've gotten some separation from the Clippers at 5, Dallas at 6, the Lakers at 7, Minnesota at 8. All of those teams have either 17 or 18 losses. They are separated by mere percentage points. So Denver is they've separated that tier a little bit. This is a big one. And if Denver had lost both of these games, you might see Dallas and Denver flip in the standings effectively. So this was huge. And I really do think the home court advantage for Denver is going to be a big deal. And also kind of avoiding OKC in the playoffs. I know that people don't want to hear that, but OKC is really, really good. I think they're now 33-6. Let me just confirm that in the standings. Yes, they are 33-6. Chet has played 10 games for them. Isaiah Hartenstein missed almost all of the games that Chet didn't play. And I just tend to think that Denver should try to wait to see if another team can take out OKC. And if they could do that and get the 2 seed or the 3 seed, and then the 4 seed takes out OKC, I think Denver will be sitting pretty at that point. So try to avoid it if you can, but if you can't, you have to figure it out. But Denver's now in a good spot. They've rattled off some wins. They've been playing pretty well. And now they have another test. They have another test against the Houston Rockets, who are 2nd in the Western Conference. I don't think people have fully appreciated how good Houston is. Like, holy cow, they are 26-12. They are 2.5 full games ahead of Denver, despite the fact that Denver's been playing pretty well lately. The guy to watch in Houston is Amen Thompson. He has been unbelievable and pretty cool to see for a guy like that. Like, young guy, 2nd-year player. It's hard to make waves while Victor Wembanyama is in your draft class. But Amen Thompson is putting up insane stats. Go look at his stat pages if you're interested, but he puts up some crazy rebounding numbers for a guy who's supposed to be a guard. He really has kind of transitioned into being a forward because of how physical he is, how athletic he is. He's the most athletic player in the NBA, one of the best defenders in the NBA. He's also a great passer and has point guard instincts. He's not a great shooter yet, but he doesn't have to be an impact player. He might be their best player soon. It's crazy. So that's going to be a tough matchup. He'll probably guard Jamal, if not Dylan Brooks. That's a pretty tough matchup. Jokic versus Sengun will be a big matchup, obviously. Fortunately, Jokic didn't have to go so hard tonight that he could probably have some good stuff for Sengun tomorrow. We will see who wins that one. I would expect Joker to win, but Sengun's put up some great numbers against Joker before. So that's one where it's a big pivot point. Who steps up for Denver? Can Michael Porter get some spacing? Can he hit some shots, take over for the scoring load for Murray? I don't expect Murray to be dynamic again. Like, doing that in back-to-back nights would be crazy. But who knows? Maybe he steps up. Maybe he's just like on a heater right now. Maybe it just feels good. And if that's the case, then Denver could use that absolutely. So we'll see what happens. Denver's 8-0 on second night of back-to-back so far this season. Again, that is a crazy number. And if they can continue to maintain that, holy cow, like that's free cash. Like that's so valuable. So many teams lose those second night of back-to-backs, or they're at least like 500 in those circumstances if they're a good team. For Denver to be 8-0 and to win all of those games, I think, by double digits, bonkers. Super crazy. So we'll see what happens with it, but I'm very curious to see how Denver handles it. They were 2-6. They're now 3-6 on the front end of back-to-backs. So we'll see what it looks like on the back end. But if they can win this one tomorrow, then they're going to make some waves. Like that's going to be a big deal. They'll obviously make up a game against Houston. They don't play Houston a ton this year, so they have to take advantage of every single matchup that they can. And maybe they slowly make up some ground and get into a top 2 or top 3 seed. And at that point, start to really have some bigger questions. Like, can Denver really get this thing done and win it all? That's crazy because I did not think that they were in that position. Murray playing this well opens that door back up again. Denver's bench has found some things. They figured some stuff out. DeAndre Jordan's kind of solidified the backup center, at least for the interim. If Denver can add 1, maybe 2 more spots, like just fill in the gaps a little bit, I think they're pretty close. It's all going to hinge on Murray, obviously. Jokic is obviously, like, he has to be the best player in the world for Denver to win, and good thing that he probably will be. And then Porter's going to have to step up. Gordon's going to have to step up. Denver's going to have to be more consistent than they were last year. I think they're capable. We'll just have to see. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for the Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Make sure to check out the newsletter for tomorrow. Subscribe to that if you're interested in getting some trade information that Matt Moore put out earlier on this show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. We will have another show for you guys tomorrow night.